It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed, phone off, room completely dark, mind still wide awake instead of drifting off to sleep. And suddenly, out of nowhere, your brain hands you the perfect sentence for that email you've been avoiding, or the solution to a problem you've been stuck on for days, or an idea for something you'd never even thought about building before. By morning, it's gone, vanished completely, like it was never there. Or worse, it sounded genius at 2 a.m. and painfully obvious at 9 a.m. If this happens to you often, there's a real reason why. Your brain actually saves its best material for the middle of the night, on purpose. And no, it's really not random at all. During the day, your brain is running constant filters. How do I look right now? Did that message sound weird? What's next on my list? Psychologists call this self-monitoring, and it takes up a surprising amount of mental bandwidth, more than most people ever realize. At 2 a.m., most of that shuts off completely. No one's watching. No one's judging. There's simply nothing left to perform for. When self-monitoring drops, a part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, responsible for filtering, editing, and second-guessing, quiets down too. This is the very same region that gets suppressed during dreaming, during meditation, and even during mild sleep deprivation. The result? Your thoughts stop getting immediately filtered. Weirder, bolder, more creative ideas suddenly get through, completely unedited, because at that hour, in that quiet, unfiltered state, there's simply no internal editor left standing guard over your thoughts anymore. Nothing left to hold them back. Here's the truly counterintuitive part of all this. Being tired doesn't just impair your thinking like most people assume. It actually changes the entire way you think, jumping between ideas that wouldn't normally connect. This is why so many creative breakthroughs happened in bed, in the shower, or right on the edge of sleep. Well-rested brains are good at focused, linear thinking. Tired brains are worse at focus, but far better at loose, associative thinking. This state even has a name. Hypnagogia, the transitional zone between waking and sleeping, where logical thought slowly loosens its grip, and imagery, metaphor, and unusual associations quietly take over instead, forming connections your waking mind would never allow. Salvador Dali actually used to nap while holding a spoon over a metal plate, deliberately balanced right at the very edge of falling asleep. So the moment he actually fell asleep and the spoon slipped from his fingers, the clang of metal on the plate would wake him right at that exact edge, right at the very edge of hypnagogia, so he could catch those strange, fleeting ideas before they had any chance to slip away completely into sleep. There's also a deeper emotional layer to all of this. At night, cortisol, your body's main stress hormone, drops to a naturally, measurably lower level, and the emotional intensity of the day has quietly faded. Your brain isn't reacting to new inputs anymore. It's simply reflecting. This is also exactly why 2 a.m. thoughts can swing in two completely different directions. For some people, on certain nights, it quietly becomes creative insight. For other people, on the exact same nights, it becomes overthinking, spiraling, or anxious, looping rumination instead. Same mechanism. Reduced filtering, increased association. Just different emotional content, depending on what's already sitting in your mind. If your daytime mind is calm, night tends to quietly produce ideas. If it's anxious, night tends to produce worry instead. This part is actually pretty simple. It's not that the idea itself was ever bad. It's that the surrounding context around it completely changed. You had it in a low-filter, high-association state. By morning, your prefrontal cortex is back online, self-monitoring switched on again, and it reevaluates that same idea using completely different criteria now: logic, social judgment, and everyday practicality. Sometimes the idea really was genuinely brilliant, and daylight, you simply can't access that same creative headspace anymore to properly appreciate it. Sometimes, though, The idea only ever really worked in that specific state, with no filter at all. Learning this pattern means learning to know the difference. You can't really force hypnagogia on command, but you can absolutely learn to work with it instead. Keep a notebook or notes app right by the bed. Even just a 2-word fragment is often enough to reconstruct the whole idea later on. Don't judge it at 2 a.m., just quietly capture it. Evaluate it properly in daylight instead. And don't judge it at 9 a.m. either. Protect a low stimulation window before bed each night. Your brain isn't broken for saving its best thoughts for the middle of the night, even when it feels that way. It's simply working in a completely different mode. One without the editor, without an audience, and without any of the usual noise at all. The real skill is learning to build a bridge that carries it into morning. If this is you, let me know down in the comments. What was your best 2 a.m. idea, and did it actually survive daylight?